Hi everyone, welcome to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this ribbed phone case. It is quite stretchy. It's made with a foundation treble and front post treble crochets. That's a UK term, so it's foundation double and front post double crochet in the US. So it's nice and sturdy. You might remember the previous one I made was quite had a lot of drape. It's quite a floppy one, but this one's quite sturdy. It is quite thick, but I think it looks really nice and keeps its shape well. Now these particular ones I've made for larger phones. I've got an iPhone 8, which is not a large phone. This one is a broken iPhone 7, which was quite a large, the bigger one, and that fits in there quite easy. This is an iPhone X, belonged to my son. It's quite a big phone, and that fits in to this one quite easily. Now, I did make this one slightly larger, but because it is stretchy, this phone does fit in there easily as well. It just kind of stretch around it. So you can use, I think I used, how many chain did I do for this one? I think it was 25, and for this one I did 28. So as it's for a large phone, I'm going to do the 28 this time, and I'm going to make it with this King Cole Glitz yarn that you might have seen on my tutorials before. I made a pair of fingerless gloves with this. It is very glitzy. I'm hoping it's going to show up really well. I'm going to use a 4mm crochet hook and a darning needle, and I have a pair of scissors handy. So if you haven't already, then please subscribe to my channel. There's a little thingamajig down here just to hit the subscription, and if you just hit that notification bell as well, you'll be informed when there are new tutorials. Do have a lot of live chats and all sorts of things. I've got quite a lot of giveaways that go on my channel, so check that out. There might be some at the moment. So to do this, I'm going to leave a fairly long tail because I'll use it to sew up. There'll be this little tiny bit here, kind of just a very small amount to sew up, and it just seems logical to leave a tail. So you do a slip knot however you normally would do it. I do have a tutorial on the slip knot and magic loop, magic ring. If you want to check those out beforehand, then please do. So once you've got your slip knot, we're going to make 2 chain, which is yarn over and pull through, and yarn over and pull through. Now we're only going to be doing 2. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, so you might find it easier to see. So we're just doing the 2 because, pull my yarn out, this is the foundation treble crochet or foundation double, and we yarn over and we're going to go into that very first chain that we made, not the one on the hook, that doesn't count. That loop there is the first, and that one's our last. Well, you know, that was our first one, that was our second one, but from the hook we're going into the second one. But we're going to go into 2 loops. It's important that we go in to the 2 loops. You need to make sure that you can see the 2 loops on your hook, and the reason being the foundation row will be quite baggy if we don't go through both loops. So we're going to, it didn't quite look right. I think my yarn's getting in the way. There we go, because the tail's so big. So we're going to yarn over and we're pulling through just 1, and then I like to hold that one while I complete my treble crochet or double in the US. That's yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now this here is the chain we've created. So we're going to go into that one and we're going to go through 2 loops. Make sure that you go through both of those loops, yarn over and pull through. So we've got 3 on our hook again, yarn over and pull through 1, hold on to it, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're just going to carry on like that until we've made 20, let me see, where's my piece of paper? I wrote it down. 28. We need 28 of these foundation treble crochets, and just ease that second loop over with your finger if you have to, because it does make all the difference if you go through the 2 loops in your first chain. You don't have to hold it, but I like to, because then I can see it very easily where it is. And sometimes when you're making it with yarn that's like this, it can be pretty difficult to see, or this one even, because each strand has white with it, so it can be hard to see. So I like to hold it, and then I can see exactly where it is, where I've done it. So we complete the stitch, go into that chain through the 2 loops, and complete the stitch. So through the 2 loops, just gently push it on with your finger if you have to, fingernail, if you have any. Just pull my yarn back. So we go through 1, and then complete the stitch. So you see that stitch there looks a little baggy, and sometimes if you don't go through the 2 loops, then they'll all look like that. So it's important that you see that you've gone through the 2 of them. And we just carry on until we have 28. If your phone is a slimmer phone and you want to make 25, then that's fine. But as you saw with these 2, they're both made, one with the 25 and one with the 28, but they're not too dissimilar in size, because they really do scrunch together. But they both take both phones, but some people like a little bit more room, and some of the phones now are very large. They're like little mini tablets, some of them. I've never really had a huge phone. I think they're quite heavy to hold. Having said that, that quite large one there that was my son's phone's very light. Was a bit surprising. Gone through 2, yes. So we just carry on like this until don't worry if they don't look completely uniform. It does tend to right itself when we do. It's not gone through 2. Can't really see it too well. Sorry, moving about. That's it, gone through 2 now. And just keep going until we have our right number. So I'm going to pop this video on hold. I'm going to pause it, and I will come back to you. It can go through 2, went through the stitch, and I will come back to you when we have the right number, and I'll show you exactly what it is we do next. Okay, so I've just counted them and I have my 28. Just zoom back out again. So now, this is how it's looking. We're going to bring this around, keep the tail at the bottom, and we're going to go slip stitch into that second chain. So the first one was here, that's the second one, and we're just going to slip stitch into that stitch to form the ring. And it has this gap, and that is what this nice long tail is for, to close that gap at the end. So don't worry if it looks a bit odd for now. We're going to chain 1, And now we're going to do the front post treble crochet or front post double in the US. So we're going to ignore this stitch here where we've just joined the 2 chains, and we're going to start with this stitch, which is our first. We're going to go around it. So we're going to go in behind the stitch and come back up. So we've gone through that stitch, yarn over and pull through. So we've got 3 loops on our hook, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2, and we're going to do that to every single stitch along. So there, this stitch you can see. I'll just zoom in a little bit. So now this is the stitch we've just done, and we're going to go in next to that stitch, come out the other side, yarn over, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. I'm going to do that again, go in and out the other side, yarn over, and then complete our stitch. And we're going to do that to every single stitch along until we get back to here. I'll show you one more time. Yarn over, in beside the stitch where the gap is, round the back and back through to the next gap, yarn over. So we've got 3 on our hook, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. One more time. Okay, so now I'm just going to pause this video and I will pick up with you again when I get round to here, and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so I'm almost back. Got a couple more to do. So I'm just going to go into that one. And now this one is the very first one. So we're going to go through those and finish our stitch in the normal way. And now, to bring these 2 sides together, we want to go through these 2 chain. So we just go through there and make a stitch as normal. So we've now gone all the way around. So instead of, it does look a bit wonky, but it won't be, because at the end of the day we're going to pull this down. So that's fine. But instead of ending off or joining in with a slip stitch or anything like that, we're just going to keep going round. So we're going to go through our next stitch. Now I always find it easier just to go through like this. I hold my work like this and pull it up so that my finger shows me where the holes are, and I can just go round. But you can do this however is easiest for you. So we're going to do that in every stitch, and we're just going to keep going round, not ending off rows. We're just going to work in rounds until the actual body measures big enough to put our phone in. And how I do it, I just keep slotting my phone into it. I might need to unexpand this just a little bit so you can see. So yeah, just keep slotting my phone in to see if I'm there. And once I can put it in, and I know that once it's sewn up at the bottom, there'll still be a little bit above the phone, a little bit of my phone sock above the phone, then I know we've got the right height. You can edge it if you want to in a sort of fluffy yarn. I didn't go through the right bit there. Edge it in a fluffy yarn or a tinsel yarn, or just leave it plain. I quite like it plain. If I show you, it's got a nice edge to it. You can, once you've finished your length, you can choose whether you want the first row that you did to be the top, or whether you want to sew that up and have the top as the other end, but that's completely your preference. Once you're done, you'll be able to see which one you'd prefer. But we're not going to, as I say, we're not going to be working in rows in any way now. We're just going round and round in a spiral, and we're just going to keep going, doing these front post trebles, front post double crochet US, until we've made it as long as we need it to be. So I'm going to show you once more when I get to the end, because we're almost there, and then I'll pause the video and pick up with you again when we've got the length we need for our phone sock. I just find it easier to slot in like this rather than going through. On the first row, you really do need to kind of go through. Sometimes anyway, it doesn't always lend itself. So now we're back, and you can see that there's our join. And this is our stitch now, that side of the join, and this is our stitch this side of the join. So when we finally finish our length, we need to make sure that our last stitch is this one here, and you can follow that line all the way up, but you need this one here to be our last stitch. It's the last one before the gap. And then, but for now we're just going over the gap and carrying on with our rounds. Just pretend they're not there and just carry on round and round. So I'm going to pull some yarn out. I'm going to pause the video, and I will catch up with you again once our phone sock measures large enough to put the phone in. So I'll put it on pause now, and I will see you once it's done. Okay, so here it is. We've got this. See, it looks quite slim now. It doesn't look like a big wide one at all, but it's, if you put the phone in, you can see it does fit quite nicely in the phone. And once we've got it in, there is clearance so that it's all completely enclosed. So now you just decide which end you're going to have the top and which end you're going to have as the bottom. So let's take the phone out. And I quite like this side here as the top. You can do it the other way around. I think with the other one, with this one, this is the bottom. You can tell because there's a longer lip, so you might want to do that then. If this is the bottom, mine just doesn't look like it's got a long lip anyway, but I kind of like this one, so I'm going to have this as the top. So what we do now, oops, is end off here. Bear with me just 1 second. I've got my phone's ringing. Sorry about that. So yeah, we're going to end off here, but we're going to leave a very, very long tail. I'm going to make my loop large because I don't want it to unravel. And now I'm going to turn this phone sock inside out and pull my yarn through. Doesn't matter about that too much. Excuse me. So now I'm going to insert my hook. Oh, I don't think I've ended right, have I? Didn't show you that. So this is the right side. So as you can see, it was on the right part. So it matched up with that part there. So that's fine. So now we just slip stitch into the very next stitch, and so that will end and it will be straight. So now we'll pull that into our corner, and what we're going to do is we're going to join this, and we're going to do it by just crocheting it together. So we want to go through what I like to do as well while I'm doing this is to pop my phone in. So I'm going to use this slimmer one for now. And if I pop the phone in, it helps to keep it wider. So that's just a little trick that I picked up, because obviously you're going to be securing it, but you don't want it tight. So then I'm just going to go in to the corresponding stitches either side and slip stitch them together and make sure the phone stays in. It stays nice and wide that way. Go through 2 stitches though. That's it. Go through those 2 and those 2 and slip stitch it together. And you just do that. It's a bit of an odd angle for me trying to do it on camera. But just do that all the way along. And that's how you make your join. If you wanted to do it as a double crochet, then that would work, you know, just doing it like this. That would be fine. But I always slip stitch, makes less of a ridge. Not that you're ever going to see it, so if you wanted to do it the other way, that's perfectly okay. Oh, sorry, I was catching on my other piece of yarn there. So yeah, just do that all the way along. Catching both sides equally. Almost at an end. Trying to keep in the camera. Just it's like sewing it together with your hook. Nearly done. I think that'll be it. The last bit. And then we just end off in the normal way and cinch that down. And then I will end this, but leave a nice little tail to sew it in. Just dispose of the other side. Okay, take my phone out. Now I'm going to close this gap, so we need the darning needle. And we're just going to sew these 2 ends together. So you want to find this little corner here and just sew it together. And then you can see there's the gap there. You just go, see, right, if you look, pull it apart, you can see the gap there. You just go either side of it, close that little gap. And 3 stitches usually is enough. Because we're on the wrong side, I will just make a little loop, go through it and pull it. It's made a little knot, and then I'll lose this along here like this. Because this is quite, you'll see these are ridges on the inside. It's one of the things that helps keep the phone sock tight, tight to the phone. And then I go back the other way. Because I hate the idea of ends coming out, I go back the other way again. And then cut it off. Then we just need to get rid of this one. So this ending. The same way. Just go along, bury it in. Don't really want to bury in this. Got to remember though, it won't really show very much. Don't pull it tight though. Don't want to tighten our ends. Went to the trouble of putting the phone in so it didn't tighten. So we don't want to make it tighter. And then just chop that off. And then we can pop it in the right way. And you need to tease out the corner of the bottom a little bit. There you go. So there we are. It's all done. We'll just pop a phone in, and it's perfect. It's quite tall, so because this phone's slightly smaller than this one. We'll put this one in. Bear with me a second. They've got these, this phone has quite sharp buttons that stick out, which isn't a particularly good one to show you with. But there you go. Fits it nicely. So that's how you make it. And it's because it's nice and ribbed, it kind of stretches and then shrinks back and looks, I think it looks good in any colour yarn really, but I quite like the sparkly. And these ones from Poundland are really, really inexpensive, so can be made quite cheaply, and it's a nice little present, I think. So thanks for watching, and if you would please like and share this video and any of my videos. That would really help me grow this channel. And as I said before, if you haven't already, just please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks very much, and bye bye for now. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. It's Tracy here, and I'm going to show you in this tutorial how you can make this exfoliating sponge face scrubby. I've still got to sew my ending on this one, but it's made with some nice inexpensive Poundland yarn. Now I'm using this one, it's Aran, and it is quite a sturdy yarn. It's not willowy soft. So I achieved this kind of nice tight textured stitch by using a smaller crochet hook than usual for an Aran weight, which is a 4 weight. Now I did it as a scrubby, just a one-dimensional scrubby, and for this one I used a larger crochet hook and just did it in a kind of a rectangle or a square. And you can do that if you want to make one for just cleaning in the kitchen or whatever, but this one I thought I would make into a scourer, and I've had this idea for quite some time, and with that in mind I bought these sponges. Now they're called Pink Miracle Sponge, and they were really cheap. They've got no chemicals, no fumes, and no mess. You got 6 in here because there was 4 and you got 2 free, so they were sort of packed in 3. Now as I got one out, so much for Miracle Sponge, a piece fell off it, but I just put it back and it's in there so tight it will never come out. But you do have to be a bit careful with them. And I got these in a shop in the UK called Pound Stretcher, I think. It was definitely Pound Stretcher. But you can get them anywhere. They're inexpensive. You can use any sponge. It's just that these were the ones I found. I was just looking for little square, you know, little rectangular sponges. And I figured these ones are quite dense, so they'd be good. Keep the stiffness of this for exfoliation, because that's what I wanted to use it for. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the video and move all this stuff out the way, and I'll get started and show you how to do this. So if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. You'll be informed when new videos pop up. I'm going to make this right-handed as well as left-handed, and there'll be a little thing that pops up on the top just to kind of let you know if you wanted to be in the other version. So just going to pause it for a moment and clear the decks. Okay, so I've made one side already, and where is it? Here it is. So I've got one side at the ready, and I'm going to show you how to make the other side, and then we're going to put them together and put the sponge in. So this is what it will look like. I'll put that to one side. I'm going to open my yarn. Now, for this particular tutorial, I was fiddling around with different stitches, and I kind of come across this one, and I thought it would be really good as an exfoliating scrubby because it is quite abrasive. The texture makes it quite good, and I know how much people, especially people across the pond, love a scrubby. But you can use this one in the kitchen, or you can just use it for washing in the bathroom. So it's kind of very versatile, this particular one. Okay, so to start off, you'll want a slip knot, and we're going to chain 16. So we're going to have 15 stitches, so that's 15 plus 1. We're going to have 16. Now, we don't want the chain to be really tight. I know I'm using a 4mm, which really is quite small for a 4-way Aran. So I'm going to just make sure they're not mega loose, just not tight. Okay, so I have 16 chain, and in the second one from the hook, loop on the hook doesn't count, so this is our first. In our second, we're just going to insert the hook, and we're going to do a UK double crochet or a single crochet in the US. So we're just going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and we're going to yarn over and pull through both of those, and that we're going to do in every single stitch all the way along every chain. We're going to just do a first row to start us off of UK doubles or US singles. That's one in every single stitch all the way to the end. So I'm going to pause it for a second, and I'll catch up with you when I get to the last stitch. Okay, so I've got one more left. Just going to go in there, finish off. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1, but I don't want it to be really tall. I'm not going to cinch it right down because I need to go into that side and pick up some stitches at the end. So I'm just going to turn my work. Now we're going to go in to the front and the back loops. Now what I mean by that, if you're looking at your work and you've got your V in front of you, which is the top of our stitch, this is the front loop and this is the back loop. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, with this particular stitch, it's much better to start going into the front loop, because when you get to the end of the row, it's easier to find your stitch than if you went into the back first. I found that from experience. So we're just going to get our V, see, there it is, and we're going to go into that front loop only. So we've only caught one of them, the other half of the V is still there. And we're going to do a UK double or US single crochet into that front loop. And then in the next stitch, which you can see right next to it there, there's the front loop, there's the back. We're going to go into the back loop. Did I go into the whole thing? Yeah, I think I did. And we're going to just do another. That's the only stitch we're going to do throughout this whole project, but we're going to alternate by going in the front loop and then the back loop. So we start with the front. So we've only got one on our hook there rather than the 2 V's. And then in the next stitch, there's the front loop. We're going to go into the back loop. Front loop. Back loop. If you ever get confused, if you've got this little bar in front, that was the back loop. And if you've sometimes split the yarn and you can't get in, just use your hook to get in. And make sure there's the back loop there and you're just in the front. So we're going to alternate front loop and back loop all the way to the end. I got my look stuck then. It's only because I'm on camera. Didn't happen when I wasn't. So there's the front loop. And then the back loop. So for me, this is the size for my sponge. Now, of course, you might have a different shape or you might have a square sponge. You might have a smaller rectangular sponge or a larger. So what I recommend you do is measure your chain so that it just goes to the side And then, so you want it so that when you finish your work, it is not quite halfway, because you want it to be tight. So we're going to make sure that we're just overlapping all the way around. So our chain will be from there to there, and then our work will come from there to there. If that makes any sense, I hope so. It is a bit awkward to explain. So as we started with a front loop, we end with a front loop. And then we do our chain. We keep it nice and small, not cinched. And this is what it looks like. Now 2 rows make up the actual pattern of the stitch. And we're going to always start with our front loop. That way, it doesn't matter, as long as you've got an odd number of stitches, so an even number of chain will give you an odd number of stitches. You always start going in the front loop and you will end in the front loop, and that will be the same for every row. So this is my second of my pattern rows, and I'm just going to repeat it, going front loop, back loop until the end. And we're going to do 10 rows for this particular sponge. I'm not sure if it has the dimensions. I'll just check. Okay, couldn't see the dimensions, so I've got my measure. And this is in inches. It's a 4-inch sponge. Or if you're in millimetres, it's 10. 10 and 4-inch. Well, I didn't think that 4 inches was 10, but there you are. Can't go far wrong. So I'll move that out the way and we'll carry on. So as I can see my little bar there, I know that was a back loop, so I'm in the front loop of the next one. And we'll go all the way to the end of this row together, because it's not very far. And that's all you do. Simple as that. Front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. Now I'm getting really hot, so it's starting to squeak, which is annoying. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's not cool at all. So yeah, here we go. As long as you make sure that you always have 15 stitches, don't accidentally go into that chain at the end. And we're going to chain 1 and turn, and there we go. You can see the pattern is kind of emerging. So once again, I'm going to go front loop, back loop all the way to the end, and I'm going to do a total of 10 of these front loop, back loop rounds. So make sure you put a little line. At the end of that, you will have 5 of these patterns. So 10 rows will give you 5 complete patterns, and we're going to finish on the wrong side row. What do I mean by that? If you look, this row here is our first row. Oh, gone too far. This is our first row, and this is the right way round. And if you turn it, you can see it looks bumpy and strange. So this is the actual front of our work in that respect. So our last row will start this end and we'll go along here. So when we turn it, we've finished on the wrong side. So that's carry on and do a total of 10 of these front loop, back loop rows, starting on a front loop, ending on a front loop, and count your stitches. Make sure you have 15 all the time. If you're ending on a back loop, you know you've gone wrong somewhere. Do 10 rows and I'll come back to you. Okay, so here I am. I've come all the way up. I've got my 5 complete patterns, and I've ended on... Have I ended on the right way? Yes, I have, haven't I? Yeah. So I've gone along here. This is my front side, so I've ended here. So if I'm going to turn, it would look like the wrong side. So I've got my 10 rows and I've ended on this side. So what I need to do now is I've done it already. I'll just chain 1. I'll do that in with you so that we get it right. We chain 1, and now we're going to start working our way around this rectangle. So in our corner stitch here, we're just going to go in to this here. We're going to pick up some stitches. We're going to go in there and we're going to do 2 US singles, UK double crochets, just 2. Normally in a corner we do 3, but we're not going to this time. We're going to do 2. Now what we're going to do is pick up stitches all the way along, and because it's an uneven edge, it's not uneven, but you know what I mean, it's a straight edge, but it's not stitches, not like this. You've got to find them and pick them up yourself. So that's why I said don't cinch your chain too tight, and you can easily go in. Just try to make sure you pick up the same amount of stitches on both sides and for both of your rectangles, because you need to make 2 of these. Oh, it's still squeaking. I forgot to wipe it. We just pick them up. Try and go, if you can, into a substantial kind of 2 loops, so that it's not kind of, you're not picking it up on a, I don't like that one. Let me just wipe this hook. Bear with me a second. Hopefully that'll be better. I've also put the light on because we're losing a bit of the light now. I think, let me just check that. No, that was fine. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't gone too far down. So we're just picking up. You kind of have to judge the distance as if you were, you kind of know it would be roughly there that you would have a stitch if you were on the top edge, and you just kind of judge the distance apart. So they're not too far apart and pulling. They're not so close together they're bunching, that they're just kind of sitting next to each other nicely. So this is our end one, our last stitch. Oops, nearly pulled my yarn out. So now we've got this one. This is our very first stitch where our tail is, and we're going to do 2 in there, just like we did 2 in the other corner. Now I'm going to work over the tail, less sewing, always a fan of that. So now we're on the bottom edge, and these are our bottom chains, and you can see each stitch is not the same as the top, but you can see where it is. So it's just easy to go in and pick up along this edge. You can see the V going down kind of thing, and you just, now it's up to you whether you're going to the 1 loop or the 2 loops. I like going into the 2 loops. It does make this kind of hole, but that's fine. It's not, it doesn't pull any wider. And as I said, I'm just working over the tail as I go, so I don't have to sew it. You have to sew the very last one, but that's all. Okay, so I'm almost at the end. There we go. Now this is our corner one, and again we're going to do 2 in our corner, and then we've got to pick up along this edge, just the same as we did on the other side. And strangely, they ought to be the same, but one edge is always easier for me to pick up along, which is very odd. I'm going to pause it now because I think it might be a bit boring for you just watching me do this again. So I'm going to catch up with you when I get to this corner. Okay, I've got to the corner. So once again, I'm going to go into that corner and do 2. Now I know I've got a nice row here, but I'm going to still carry on and do 1 whole row along there and meet up with my first where I started this hole going around the edge. So I'm going to just do 1 in each one of these all the way along. Nearly there. think my hook had memory of going into just one loop then. Okay, nearly there. Whoops, take the hoop with you. Right, so now all I have to do is slip stitch into my corner, which is a bit tight. Never mind, I can get in there. Just insist. There we are. Okay, so now we've got our whole side finished. So we've got, here's my other side that I made earlier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it this way and this way. I'm going to put my hook right into my very corner here. And I'm going to get this loop and pull it through. So now I'm going to join these together. So before I do, I'm going to do one chain just to sort of secure that. Now I'm going to go into my next stitch here, but I'm going to go into both the loops, and then I'm going to go into my next stitch the other side. I'm going to yarn over and pull it through, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch. So just pull that through. But oh, I went off camera. Sorry, I didn't. I'll do that again. I'm not used to this. I've just got a new thing I'm recording on. So yeah, I'm going to go into that one, pull up my loop and make it a slip stitch. But don't make sure whatever you do, these slip stitches are loose. So then we just go into each stitch along the 2 loops of this one, the 2 loops of this one, yarn over and slip stitch it. It's easier when you're doing it yourself because you won't have a camera that's going to be out of shot if you move it. That's just me. So there you are. You've got, that's your loop, and you've got the 2 loops of each side, and you slip stitch it. Don't, just make sure it's not tight. And you're going to do that all the way around. Now I did this the other way. I finished on a long edge, but I'm kind of going along my long edge now. So I'm going to go all the way around to this corner doing that, and I'm going to pause it and come back to you when I get to the corner. Okay, so I'm around the corner and we're just going to carry on around it. We don't have to do anything different. Just make sure you're not pulling it tight. We don't do anything at all in the corner other than just follow it all the way around going into the next one. Okay, so we're just slip stitching that together, and it makes this ridge, which is how we get this little ridge around it, which I quite like. Okay, so just carry on. I just wanted to show you that we don't do anything different at the corner. So we're going to carry on and go all the way around. I'll show you how to pull this out. We've done this edge already. We're going to do this edge. We're going to go round this corner and do this edge, and we're going to stop here when we get to that part. So I want you to go all the way along and all the way along, and I'll come back to you. Okay, so I'm all the way to this corner, more or less. Just got a couple to do. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out a long way so it doesn't unravel. And now I have a pocket, and I'm going to fill this pocket with my sponge. Now, as I say, I did it the other way around on the other one. We'll see which is the easiest. There we go, just pop it in. Okay. Just make sure it's in the centre. Just fish it in, and don't be afraid to push it and pull it around. Okay, so there we are. What we want it to do is be nice and snug, so we're going to pull that. Now we're going to close it. Okay, so this is my tail from the previous one. I'm just going to tuck it in. I could sew it, but I don't have to. Okay, so here is my loop. Put that back on the hook. And this is the toughest bit because you have to cinch this closed, and it's stiff. So we just go into the next one and into the next one on this one, and we do our slip stitch. It's going to be hard to do it on camera. Okay, just pull it, it will go back. That's it. So we make sure you've got your next one is there. Is it there? And we slip stitch. I like the slip stitch join. I like it on blankets too, when I'm joining squares. And we just go all the way along, going into both of our sides on our last edge, but it is more challenging because you've got that sponge inside, and it's you've got to hold it taut. But it's actually not too bad. You want it to be nice and snug in there. You don't want it to be loose and saggy. No one likes a saggy scrunchie, do they? Or whatever it is. Okay, so we just go all the way along, closing that up. Make sure your stitches are not too tight and that they follow your line of your work. And we're nearly done. It's easier when you can hold it not like this, to be honest with you. But never mind. Could be worse. Almost there. Try not to knock the camera over. Okay, we've only got about, there might be just one stitch left. Trying to get into both sides. Just push it in with your finger if you have to. Right, so there we are. Now I'm going to just slip stitch into that first one. There we go. And then I can get my scissors and my really lovely embroidery scissors. Can't find them at the minute, so we're going to use kitchen scissors because they're handy as I'm in the kitchen. And I'm going to just do a chain, cinch it down and pull it through. And now all I have to do is sew this in. And then I'm done. Just manoeuvre it so that it's nice and neat and everything's in the right place. And there we go. One exfoliating scrubby or a kitchen scrubby, whatever you want to use it for. You can use it in the bath or in the kitchen. Hope you like that. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now. Okay, so I'm going to show you then how to make the first part, which will be the coaster. For this tutorial, I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook because I'm using some DK weight yarn, which is a 3 weight. And I've also got a pair of scissors and some darning needles, and all of the things that I'm using here you can find in the description box below in my shop. So I'm going to start this project with a magic ring or a magic loop. Magic circle, I've heard it called so many things. Now the way I do mine is very, very simple, and I leave a nice long tail. Always leave a nice long tail for sewing anything in. So we just make a loop, simple as that. Pop the hook in and bring the yarn through. I'll show you again because that went a bit funny. Make a loop, put the hook in and bring the yarn through and just do one chain. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my very first stitch a stack, and that is a stacked single crochet or a stacked double crochet in the UK. So how I do that is I insert my hook and I pull up a loop, so I have 2, yarn over and pull through both of those, just like a normal single or UK double. And then this little loop on the side there, I'm going to insert my hook into there, yarn over and pull up a loop, so I have 2 on my hook, yarn over and pull through both of those. So that gets me up to the correct height for the stitch and also gives me 2 loops of my first stitch to go into. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put a further 15 UK treble crochets, which are doubles in the US, into this ring, working over the tail. So I'm just assuming that you know how to do these stitches. I do have a total absolute beginners course, which if I can remember, I will put a link to at the end or into the description box. So I have a total of 4. I'm going to pause the video and I will come back to you once I have done them. The only reason I'm pausing it is I'll lose count if I'm talking, and it's a bit boring to just watch me do all of those without sound. Okay, so I'm just hooked my yarn. Bear with me a second. Tangled up. We're just going to go into our very first one. So there you go. At the top of the stack we have our nice 2 loops to go into. I'm just going to join with a slip stitch. Okay, and I'm going to pull that closed a little. I mean, I'm not going to worry too much about it, because it probably will work its way undone again in any case. So I'm going to do 1 chain and I'm going to pull that really down low. I don't want that to be confused with a stitch. And in the same space I'm going to do a UK double crochet, which is a single crochet in the US. And into the next one I'm going to make a UK half treble, which is a half double in the US, if I can get the yarn through, and 2 UK trebles just as before. And in the next stitch I'm just going to do 2 double trebles. Okay, so in the US they're called trebles, and we just yarn round twice before we pull up our loop, and then we pull through 2, through 2 and through 2. And I'm going to do that in this stitch and the next stitch. Okay, if you wonder why I pause it, it's because I've just got to watch what I'm doing. I've written the stitches down, and so in this we're going to mirror what we're doing around here. So in this next stitch we're going to do 2 UK treble crochets or doubles, and then 1 half treble, and then in the next stitch a UK double or US single. So we've got this kind of curved part. Okay, so in the next one we're going to do a half, I'm going to use UK terms, but I've told you the American. I'm going to use a half treble and a treble crochet, and then in the next one a treble and a double treble. So this is different to the previous one, the previous curve, what I want to call it. Okay, I'm just ticking these off as I go because they are all different. So in the next stitch I'm going to do a double treble and a treble, so that one in reverse. And then in the next one a treble and a half treble. And in the next one we're just going to put a double crochet. So we have our curves appearing, and now we're going to do the same one as this again. So a half treble and 2 trebles in this next stitch. So we have one is slightly different. Right, just going to tick these off as I do them. And in the next one we're going to do 2 double trebles, and again in the next one. And in the next one, 2 trebles and the half treble. So we're coming back down as we did here. So it's 2 UK trebles and 1/2 treble. And then in the next one, a single US double crochet UK, and then we're going to slip stitch into our first one. Okay, and we're going to end off this colour. So I'll do a chain to cinch down and leave a nice long tail and pull that out. So we now have the start of our pad at the bottom, and I've lost my one to show you. Here it is. So yeah, we've got this part. Okay, so now I'm going to change colour. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to put it on pause while I bring my new colour. Okay, so where I've ended off, I don't normally like to join in the same space, but I think we got to on this occasion. I'm just going to bring in my contrast colour, which is this cream. And in my first stitch, I'm going to make an increase, I think, but I need to do 1 chain first and cinch it right down just to make sure that I'm in the right space. So I'm going to do a 1 and 2 in that same space. And I just need to tick these off as I've done them. And in the next stitch, I'm going to, in the next 2 stitches, I'm going to just put 1. I'm going to work over that tail there just to get rid of it. Got so many tails, I always work over them when I can. And over the next 5 stitches, what we're going to do is increase. So we're going to put 2 in each one. Where's that bit of fluff come from? Oh well, just the yarn. It's just a scrap yarn. Oops. That's because I was looking at my pad and not what I was doing. I think now in the next 2 stitches, we're just going to put 1. Okay, so let's tick those off. Excuse me. Now, over these next 3 stitches, in 3 stitches, we're going to do a double crochet 3 together, or obviously single crochet 3 together. So we're going to go in. I won't work over this. I'm going to cut that off now that I've worked over it a bit, and we'll get rid of it and it won't be confusing anybody. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go into the next stitch and pull up a loop, into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and into the next stitch and pull up a loop. And we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops, and we have now put those 3 stitches together. So over the next 6 stitches around this curve, we're going to increase in each stitch. So just the same as before, doing 2 in each. So what I'm going to do is, that's a little boring and I will lose count if I do it out loud, I'll annoy you. So I'm going to just do that in the next 6 stitches. So I've done 1, I'm going to do 5 more with an increase, and I'll come back to you. Okay, so I've increased all the way around that curve, and now, just as I did here, I am going to put those 3 stitches together. So I'm going to double crochet 3 together, or single crochet 3 together. There we are. So we're kind of making that at the end of our curve. And now over the next 2 stitches, we're just going to put 1 in each. And now we're back at a curve again. And so we are excuse me, I'm going to do, over the next 5 stitches, I'm going to increase 1. So I'm going to put an increase in the next 5, just the same as I did around here. So we'll go 1, 2, and again I'll pause it and I'll come back to you once I have done the rest of those. Okay, so I finished my 5. I'm going to just do 1 in the next 3. And now I'm just going to slip stitch into my first one to join. And now we just need to end off this colour. And we're finished at the moment with that colour. So this is how it's looking. Again, we have now done this part. Okay, so I'm going to have to bring back in the original colour yarn. So while I'm setting that up, I'm just going to pause the video and I will come back to you. Okay, so with our work looking like this, we need to find this join here, this treble 3 together, sorry, double 3 together, where we did that. So that's where we need, this is where we need to kind of join, and we're going to count back 3. So there's our 1, 2, and this is where we're going to join. Okay, so we're looking for the one on this side, because this side was slightly different, so it's definitely this side that we need. And you have your double 3 together followed by an increase. Okay, so we're going to join our previous colour to that stitch. I chose yarn that splits very nicely, don't I, really? There we go. So we're just going to bring that in. Okay, so we're going to make, I'm going to do the stack stitch again, as I did at the beginning, which it's just to get me up to the right height, and it also gives me the 2 loops of the stitch. So what I did while I was paused was I actually got rid of one of my tails because I didn't want it to get confusing for you. So now you can chain 2 there if you wish, but I'm going to put in the same stitch 2 UK trebles or US double crochets in that same spot. Okay, so again I need to cut these off as I do it, tick them off, sorry. In the next stitch I need to put, working over this tail this time, 3 trebles into the next stitch. Okay, so now we're going to skip 3 stitches. I'll just drop that tail now. 1, 2, 3. And in the next stitch, we're going to put 3 trebles. So there's 1, 2, 3 into this stitch. And 3 in the next stitch. Okay. Okay, so we're going to now skip 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the 5th one we're going to put 3 in the next stitch. And again 3 in the next stitch. Now we're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th we're going to put 3. And in the next stitch, you guessed it, we're going to put 3. Oops. Excuse me. Okay, so now we've completed this row and we're going to turn our work. Okay, so we're going to turn our work and we're going to skip the first 2 stitches, and in the third one we're going to put 3 UK trebles or US doubles. 1, 2, 3. So there we go. We're now making the other side. Whoops. The other side of the pad. I've got too big a loop there. Hang on. I didn't go according to plan. And 3 in the next stitch. So we're kind of making that circular. And now what we need to do is go into this space here and do a slip stitch. And we're going to skip the 2, and in the middle stitches again, we're going to put 3 and 3. And again, slip stitch into our space, into our 2 middle stitches again, 3 and 3. And we're going to do that in each of our little pads of our foot. Paw, foot. It's a paw. A slip stitch again. Skip 2, and last one. Okay, so now we need to find our top of our stack, which is why I like it so much, because it's so easy to find. And we slip stitch into there, and now we're going to end off this collar. And this is how it's looking. So here we are. We've now done this bit. So obviously we're going to bring in our contrast colour again, and while I do that, I'm just going to pause the video, and I will come back to you once I've done that. Okay, so now this is what it looks like, and we are back working at the front of our work, and we're going to join here at this very where we're joined, where the new pads are joined, if you know what I mean. So we're going to bring in our new colour, or the old colour, excuse me, and, oh, too many tails. I'm not a fan of tails. So what we're going to do then is we are going to, along this starting part, we are going to make 2 stitches. So we're going to just do UK double crochets or single in the US. So we're going to do 2 up that stitch. Now we're at the top. Okay, so we are going to do 1 in the very top stitch. Okay, and bear with me a second, I'm just trying to read my notes. Okay, so what we're going to do in the next one, and I'm going to work over that tail at the same time, is 1 more on its own, and in the next two stitches we're going to increase. So we're going to put 2 in the next one and 2 in the next one. Oops, that was nearly wrong, wasn't it? And then we're going to do 2 on their own. I'm going to get rid of that now because I find those tails just get in the way when I'm trying to show you. Bear with me a second, I've just got a knock at the door, probably the post. Okay, so you have a choice to make now. We just need to put a stitch in to this row. So traditionally you might want to do this, but I'm not really keen on this kind of elongated loops. So I've decided that I'm going to do a double treble, and then I'm going to go into this stitch here, and I've got to get rid of that tail, out the other side. So kind of like it's like a front post, but it's not so much because it's not a post. We're going in the stitch and out through the next one, and I'm going to pull up my loop. I'm going to pull it a little way, and then I'm going to pull through two, through two, and through two. So it gives me what looks like a stitch rather than just a big long ugly loop. Okay, so now I'm going to do one in the next two, and then I'm going to increase in the next two, and one in the next two. And then we're going to do that long stitch again. It's just in one side. It's not plain ball this time. I've gone between it, that's why. Just choose the middle one. Out the other side. Pull it up a little way. Through two, through two, through two. It just looks a little neater, I think. And then we're going to do two on their own. Two increased, two increased, and then two on their own. Again, we're going to do the long stitch, and we're going to go into the next one. Just bear with me a second. Sorry, I had to cough. So again, two on their own, two to increase, two on their own, gets us back, and then just as we did along here, we're going to put two going down the side of this stitch, just try and get it through there. And then we're going to just slip stitch into this stitch down here. Okay, and I'm going to end off because that's one project with far too many tails, I know. But there we go, that's our coaster. Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. It's Tracy here, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make my placemats and some tips because you'll need them along the way. So if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and hopefully you'll be informed when new videos pop up. So this is a beginner friendly tutorial, but there are some tricky parts, so I will go into those. But I'm using this chainy cotton cake yarn, which I did buy just to sell in my shop, but once I started to kind of get used to it, there was a few colours that I absolutely fell in love with, and this being one of them. So I wanted to make a sturdy placemat, and I do intend to use a little bit of starch to stiffen them up even more, even though they are fairly stiff anyway. The beauty of this stuff is it's quite durable and hard wearing, and it's the retwist, so it's recycled, and it's the chainy cotton cakes. So they kind of don't show you whether they're an Aran weight or a chunky weight. They don't tell you anything about that. The strand, I guess, if it was yarn, you would say could be a DK weight or an Aran weight. I've seen both kind of in that thickness, but it is more like, if you like, it feels like a little rope. So it is very, very sturdy. And what I really love are the way these colours ombre. So I decided to manipulate these colours in my placemat so that I would start and it would look just like this does. So it replicates it. Starting with the blue and then going out. So I have a bag of offcuts because I've made 2 of them so far. Now I would say you want to average 1 per cake. You do get lots and lots of offcuts, but there are some colours like this yellow that there is not much of, and I've chosen to do 2 rows of the yellow, and it really depletes what is on this cake, because by the time you get round to this part, it does take more to get round. Okay, so I've used a 4.5mm crochet hook. You'll need some darning needles and scissor, and I'll be back in a sec once I've cleared the decks, and I'll show you how to get started with this. Okay, so it is nice and easy to do a centre pull, and that's exactly what I've done with the other cake. And to start with, you'll need a nice tail, because when you're sewing in the ends, as this is really stiff and sturdy stuff, you do need a nice tail to actually get that sewn in. So I'm going to make a magic loop, and the way I do it, if you haven't seen it already, and I've done lots of videos and shorts about it, is I just make a loop, I pop my hook in, and I bring the yarn through the hoop and make 1 chain. I've pulled it too tight. There we go. Make 1 chain and you've done it. There you are. That's your magic loop. So I don't, as of this, I wanted it nice and tight. Well, I'll just show you this one and bring it in. I didn't want lots of holes and I wanted it nice and tight. So this is a half treble crochet in the UK or a half double in the US. So I don't need any more chains. In fact, I don't want that one confusing the issue. So I cinch it down just a little bit, and into this loop, working over that tail, I'm going to do a half treble, which is a half double in the US, and you yarn over, go into the loop, yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, and then you pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And I haven't got my glasses with me, so I'm going to have to go and pause it in a sec and do that. So in this ring, you want 10 of those. Now that chain doesn't count as a stitch, so we're going to do 10. So we need to make sure that afterwards you've got the right amount of stitches. Now, because you're using a 4.5mm hook, and this is very sturdy yarn, it will be stiff. It is a little hard on your hands to work with it. You don't really feel it until you get to the end of the second one. Well, I didn't. And if you want to, you can pull on this just to close it off a little bit, but don't forget you're working over that tail. Don't let it slip out, and you need to carry on until you've got 10. So I'm going to pause it, and I'll come back to you once I've got the full 10, and I'll have my glasses. I won't be a second. Okay, so I'm back now, and I know I've counted that I've done 8, and if you ever get confused, ignoring this loop, you can count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's the chain, and this is your first stitch. So let's get the tail back. That means I need to do another 2, because as I said before, I wanted 10 into that ring. Now I have put the light on, and hopefully it won't be too shadowy, but I've noticed today the blazing sunshine that we did have has deserted us, so I did want it to sort of be as visible as possible. So that's my 10. Okay, so just as I said before, you can count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that is where I'm going to slip stitch into. So if you do get confused, that is how you can figure it out. So as it's quite tight, it doesn't like to go in on camera. There we go. So I'm going to slip stitch into that to form my ring. Okay, now I'm going to pull on this. It doesn't have to be tight yet because we're not there by any means. Now for my centerpiece, I did 4 rows in the blue, and this is just as simple as doing any, at this stage, as doing any circle. But by the time you get to the yellow part, things do change. So I recommend that you don't just go off and think, that's it, I don't need to watch anymore, because I think you do. So I'm going to chain 1 and cinch it down because I don't want to confuse it with a stitch. And in each of my stitches round, I'm going to do 2. So by the end of this, I should have 20 stitches. And the first ones are always the hardest to get into. It's much easier when you're not sitting like this, when you've got not got a camera in front of you. But yeah, you just go in and do 2 in every single one. So you started with 10 and you'll end with 20. So that's quite simple and straightforward. Once again, then I'm going to pause it and I will come back to you when I get back to the start. Okay, so I'm all the way back round and I'm just going to insert into my first stitch just as before to make my ring. So this is what it's looking like, and don't worry about that center. You just need to give it a good tug and it will close up. There'll be no hole. Okay, so this next round we're going to, as I said, for the first 4 of, well, however many, until we change color, we're just going to do this as we would any circle. But because it is quite stiff and sturdy, you do need to kind of manipulate it a little bit differently. So normally speaking now, what we would do is do an increase in the first stitch and then a single one, then an increase and then a single, then an increase and a single, and go all the way around. So we're adding 10 to our tally. But if you're going to do an increase at the first stitch, it can make it a little bulky and hard to get into. So for this particular round, I'm going to start without the increase, but I do like to alternate. So if I start on the single stitch on this round, I like to do the increase as my first stitch on the next. But as I say, it gets a bit bulky. So at the beginning of the next round, I will show you how I overcome that. Just in case you feel like racing ahead, you might want to see that. So for now, all I'm doing is increasing in one stitch, and then in the next one, I'm doing a single one. And then I'm increasing in the next stitch, and then in the next stitch, one on its own. And that's what I'm going to do all the way around until I get back to the start. Now, because I started with a single, I will end with an increase. So I'm going to pause it and I'll catch up with you when I get back to that last increase. Okay, so I've made it all the way around and I'm just going to slip stitch into my first stitch to finish. Okay, so this is the last of the blue round, and for the next one we have an increase and 2 on their own. So as I said to you, I normally alternate starting with the double, the increase, and then the next round I don't. But that's with normal yarn. This is a little bit bulkier and stiffer, so I'm not going to do that. But I don't want it to take on a hexagonal shape, which is what it does if you increase in the same stitches all the time. So for this particular one, I'm going to do my first stitch as a single one, and then I'm going to increase. And then I'm going to do a single one. Now that is the same amount of stitches I would have had at the start had I done an increase and 2 on their own. So I just made sure it was the second stitch that I did my increase into instead. So I did a single, an increase and a single. Okay, so I've finished that particular section. So now I'm going to start the repeat, which will be an increase in the next stitch, and then 2 on their own. And then an increase. And just 2 on their own. And that's what I'm going to do all the way around. Now this was a row where you start on an increase, even though I pushed it one stitch further along. So you will end on a single, on one on its own, because this is the round that would have started with an increase. So I'm going to pause it now, and I'm going to continue to do an increase and 2 on their own all the way around until I get to my last 2 on their own. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and I'm going to slip stitch into my first stitch. You may have to pull that stitch out a little bit just to get it out. Now I'm going to end this colour. I'm going to snip off. It's very tough, this yarn. It doesn't like to snip even. And I'm going to do 1 chain, cinch it down, and really pull that down. And that is the last of that colour. Now it doesn't matter if it starts to cup up a little bit, because this is really stiff and sturdy yarn. You can manipulate it quite a bit. So now I need to manipulate the colour. Now what I'm going to do is pull out until my colour changes. So I'm just going to make a little ball of this blue. Shouldn't be too far into it before it changes, I don't think. I think we've most of the blue. But I'm going to pause it for now anyway, because this might be a little boring. And once my colour changes, I'll come back to you. Okay, so I'm almost there, and this is the size of the little ball that I have, and I want to show you how you can tell. There you go. You can just see the yarn has changed colour. And what I really like about this yarn is the colour changes are really, really precise. So I'm going to snip that off and put that with my little ball of oddments, and I'm going to join this colour, which is, it's kind of just got some green in it. So you can see the colour has changed. Just a little word. Now, all of these cakes have very similar colour changes, regardless of the colour. So you can do this with any one of them. But I really liked the way this looked. And usually when you make something, you can't replicate that on a project. But with this, you can. So I would just like to tell you that at the moment in my shop, hobbyrocks.co.uk, these are on special offer, and there is a shipping voucher also underneath the video for qualifying purchases. So there's a link to the shop, and these are on special offer, plus there's that voucher. So now we've got our new colour, I'm going to join it, but I'm not going to join it where I've ended off, because I don't want to work over 2 tails, making it bulky. Plus I can come over here, and what I want to do is join it where I've had, this time round I want to join it where I've had an increase. So maybe before, where am I? If I join there and I go 1, 2, 3, I will be increasing on an increase. So I will do it kind of after, or maybe there, and then I'll do 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's fine. So I'm just going to join it, and I don't normally join yarn this way, but this is kind of hard. It's not the same as yarn. So I'm just going to join it with a double knot, and I'm going to pull it as tight as I possibly can. This is, you don't really want joining knots. You know, when you kind of join wool together or yarn together, you can work over those knots. This is different. So I'm going to work over that tail as I go. I'm going to insert my hook and pull that through, and do my chain to the left side of the knot, right side of the knot. It's actually its left side, but our right. So now I'm joined, and I'm going to do my first stitch in that same space. I'll pull it up so it clears the knot. There we go. Now I need to do an increase and 3 stitches. So I'm going to do my first 3. There's 1, there's 2, and there is my 3rd. All the time working over the tail as I go. Now, it doesn't matter if you get it wrong and you are increasing on an increase. It really doesn't matter for one round. If you did it all the time, it would look like a hexagon. Okay, so there we go. I am doing my increase in that stitch, stopping the tail from coming along with it. Now I'm going to do 3. As soon as I've finished working over this tail, it's going to be a lot easier, because that's part of the problem, is maneuvering that. There we go. So that's, I'm done now. So what I normally like to do is, once I've worked over the tail, is give that a little pull just to make sure it's snug in there. Okay, so now I'm going to do an increase and 3 in every stitch around. So this is my increase. And now I'm going to do 3. And we're going to do this for this colour for another 3 rounds. So we're going to have this blue with the green. Okay, so I'm going to pause it now, carry on doing my increase, then 3 stitches. And like I have said before, because I started on a single, I will finish on an increase and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so now I'm going to slip stitch to join my ring again. And there we go. So now we're going to start with our increase again. So we're going to do exactly the same before, but what I want to tell you is that things will change as we get further up, and the amount of increases that we do will change. So if you go racing ahead, then it will start to bow and look like a big brim hat, where it just goes like a big bumpy surface. So it is worth sticking with this. I know it's annoying, but what you'll need to do is it will change when you get to the yellow part, and we're not going to do 3 rows of each colour, so that's also a reason to stick with it. Okay, so I'm going to do, have I done my chain? No, I'm going to do my chain. I'm going to cinch it down, and I'm going to do 1 in my joining. And then I'm going to do my increase, because remember we're starting with an increase, but I want it to be 1 in. So I've got 1 and I need another 3, because in this round we've got an increase and 4 stitches. So I've done 1 of them, and there is my 2nd, my 3rd and my 4th. And now I'm going to increase and do 4 on their own all the way around. It's only on that first one where we'll do our first of our on their own, then our increase, and we'll change it slightly so that the first stitch is not the increase. It makes it very bulky, and you want it to lay nice and flat, and that's why we're joining in a different way, so that we don't have any unnecessary bumpiness on the back. Okay, so now I'm going to do 4 on their own and increase, 4 on their own and increase all the way around, and I will finish on the 4 on their own. I'll come back to you then. Okay, made it all the way around. Now a little tip for you, if you find it hard to get into that one, then put your hook in and give it a good stretch before you try. That's what I've been doing. So now I've finished my 4, I'm going to slip stitch nice and easily now into that one to join my ring. So now I'm going to do my last row of this colour, and as we started with an increase, we're now going to start with our 5 on their own, because we did 4 last round, so it will be 5 this time. So in our first one, I always pull it up nicely so it's not sort of sitting down too far, and we're going to do 5. And then we're going to increase, and that's the repeat this round. 5 on their own and then an increase, 5 on their own, and then an increase. And I will catch up with you. I'm going to pause it, and I'll catch up with you when we get back to the start. And as we started with the 5 on their own, our last one will be the increase. Okay, made it all the way around, finished on my increase, joining with my slip stitch, and now I'm going to do a chain, cinch it down, cut the yarn, and end off that colour. And here we go, there's the 3 rows of that colour. So now I've got to manipulate my yarn cake again, which, as you can see, it's got a big hole in it now. So you can see through it. It's kind of very sturdy stuff, this. Incidentally, it looks really like I'm struggling to work with it. But when you are on camera, you're holding it in a totally different way. Once you're kind of working with it, it's a lot easier. So I'm going to pause it then while I do this to get my next colour. Okay, so I pulled out quite a bit because there is this kind of khaki colour part, and I wanted specifically this colour as a more drastic colour change. So I've pulled out that part, and now we've got this real different kind of bright green coming through with a very small amount of the kind of bluey khaki colour. So that's the next colour that I'm going to add. Now with all these little offcuts that I have, I did actually have enough more or less to make another one with joins in the yarn, which isn't always ideal. But the only colour that there isn't enough of is the yellow. So unfortunately, it did take 1 whole cake per placemat. Unless you were doing ones that didn't have all these bright colours, then it might be easier. So again, we're going to join in a different area so I don't have to work over 2. And we're going to have 6 on their own before we increase. So I'm going to join in the centre of 2 increases. So there's an increase, there's an increase. So I'm just going to join there and pull the yarn through and join exactly the same way as I did before, if I can get hold of it, that is. Okay, and I'm just going to tie it because, like I said before, you don't want any kind of really bulky lumps that's going to give you an uneven kind of placemat. You can either use this as a dinner placemat or underneath the fruit bowl or something like that, and it's equally as good. So I'm going to do 6 now on their own, and then my increase. Pull it up nice on the first one, and then work over the tail, go all the way around, making 6, and then an increase. Of course, once you're changing colour like this, you don't have to worry about whether you started on an increase or not. You're just joining the yarn in between your increases. You know you're not going to clash with them. So that's 4. 5, 6. I want that last little bit to be worked over. Okay, so that's 6. I'm going to do my increase. And then 6. So that's what you've got to do for this round. We're going to do 2 rounds with this colour. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. And just as we started with singles, we will end with an increase, and I'll see you there. Okay, so I've made it all the way around and joining. So I'm going to do another row on this one, and in my first stitch would be my increase. So I'm going to do 1 on its own. In fact, I'm going to do 2 to get me past that join. Okay, so now I would do 7. So I've already done 2 of them. So I'm doing my increase. And I'm sorry if this is confusing to anyone, but it really is better this way. So I've started with my increase. Forget those 2. This is my increase. So I've done 2. I just need to do another 5. So that's all together with the 2 I did before, that is my 7. So now I'm going to do an increase into the next one. And then I'm going to do 7 on their own. And then my increase. So what I want you to do is to go round and do exactly what I've done. 7, then an increase, 7, then an increase. And I will meet you back when I get to this point here. Okay, so I made it round. Now this is the time to end this colour. And I just want to point out something to you. I deliberately had my increases in the same place, and I just wanted to show you what it would do. You can see we've got this hexagon shape going on, and that was because we increased in the same space. So that's what I wanted to show you. So now I need to manipulate the colour again, so I'm going to just pull out all of this, and we are going to use next the solid green. So obviously your cakes may not be this colour. You may have chosen different yarn cakes, but whichever colour you're choosing as your next one. I'm just going to wind this out and I'll come back to you once I've done. Okay, so you can see the nice kind of change of colour. What I like about these cakes is to make it gradual, they start introducing the colour and then they bring in the colour. Okay, so now we're going to join again in the centre between our increases, just as we have done. We are just going to do 1 row for now of this colour, I believe. Let me just say, no, maybe not. Get my finished one in. So this is, we are going to do, where are we here? We're on this one now. We're going to do 2 rows of that colour. And then we're going to end off our yarn. So I will catch up with you, do 2 rows. So keeping in with what we've been doing, the next row we'll do 8 between our increase on this row here. And then on this row we'll do 9 between our increases. So once we've got our next 2 rows of this colour done, I want you to end off and I'll catch up with you. Okay, so now I've finished off, as I said, and got to my next colour, which starts there. So it's becoming more yellow. This is the kind of transition of the yellow colour. Whichever colour scheme you're using, or even if you're making your own stripes, then with a different yarn, then this is a time to change. So this is the last row round that is kind of normal in terms of the way we increase. From this moment on, it will change after this round. Excuse me. Because otherwise, I don't know if you can see it, it's starting to buckle just a little bit. So if we continue in the way that we are, it will look like one of those big wavy hat brims. And obviously that's not what you want for a placemat. You want it to be nice and flat and even. It doesn't matter if it cups up just a little bit, because obviously with time and you can always manipulate this. It's very sturdy, good quality kind of chainy cotton where you can do that. But one thing you don't want to do is create what looks like the old warped album when you were young and if you had vinyls and you left them too much in the sun or too much in the heat and they warped. That's what you don't want, and that's what will happen if you continue. So this is the last of the kind of consistent increase rounds, and for this we're going to do 10 on their own and 1 increase. So I'm going to join my yarn, and you know how to do this by now. So I'm going to pause the video and come back to you when this round is finished, because then we can start with the next. And for this round, you just have 1 of this kind of dual colour, yellow and green, or whatever colour you've got. And then we're going to go in with the yellow colour for me. And that will be 2 rounds. So I will show you once we get round. I'm going to do 10 on their own and an increase on this round and come back to you once I've done it. Okay, so I've done that round and I've ended off, and now I want the yellow part of my yarn. So I found my start of the yellow. Just going to snip that. Now, if you've got lots of these little ends, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's not that there's going to be lots of waste, because I will just make coasters, and I'll do this on a much smaller scale and make drinks coasters. So that won't be too much wasted yarn. Okay, so I'm just pulling out a little bit of yarn, and I'm going to join this, and it doesn't matter where I join it, but I don't want to join anywhere near this end. So I'm just going to join it in here, and I'm going to do 2 rows with the yellow because I wanted that nice sunny yellow and pink end. I've got it in the wrong part of the stitch there. That's it. So I'm just going to join it as I have done all the way along. I found this is the least bulky way to join the yarn with this stuff. Well, there might be others, but this works just as well. So I'm going to join it now and do my 1 chain and cinch it, and I'm going to do my 1 in this first stitch that I've just joined to, and I'm going to do 1 in every single stitch all the way around, no increasing at all. And if you're worried that that will make it start cupping, that's fine, because we're still going to do some increases, but this round we're going to have none, and that will stop that kind of, what would you call it, warped edge that we might get if we continue going round and increasing in every round. So all I'm going to do is 1 in every single stitch, come back, and I'm going to pause the video and I'll meet you when I get back to the start. Okay, I've made it all the way around, and as you can see, it's starting to make it flatter. What was starting to bow is now becoming a lot flatter. This round then, we are going to do 11 on their own and then our increase, and we're going to do that all the way around, just as we've been doing that all the way through. But we're going to do 11 on their own, 1 increase. I'm going to pause the video to do that, and I'll come back to you when I get back to the start. Okay, so I've got all the way around, and I'm just at this moment winding the yarn to try and get my next colour, which is a 2-tone, and here it is. Again, it's a 2-tone to go in. Let's have a 2-tone, and then we go into a colour. So unfortunately, this is all that's left of the yellow, but it will be okay if I make some coasters. There'll be enough to maybe go around a small row. Okay, so I'm going to end that colour just as I have done before, and it doesn't matter where I join this time again. So I'm going to just join there. I only want to work over 1 tail at a time. Okay, bringing my yarn in and bring this colour in. I really do love this chainy cotton. It's hard on the hands, I will say. If you are going to make quite a few, I'd have a break in between. This last few days, this is the 3rd one I've made, and I have to say my fingers are aching a little bit. So I think it's advisable to do if you haven't got to do them in a hurry, to do a couple maybe, and then give yourself a little rest from it before you carry on. So with this round, just like the first yellow row, I'm going to go in every stitch all the way around, doing the just single ones on their own, no increasing at all, just one in every single stitch, working over the tails like I have been. And then at the end of this one, we are going to, well, I am going to change colour again. So I will go all the way around, doing my one in each, and I'll come back to you when I get to the start. Incidentally, I'm not really making it, my stitches are not that tight. They're just difficult to do when I'm holding my arms right outstretched and on a camera. But once I get it close to me, it's really not that tight. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way around, and I'll meet up with you when I get back to the start again. Okay, got all the way around, and I've just got to my last of the solid colours, which is this pink one. And I'm going to attach that. And you've probably guessed, this is another increase row. This one will be 11 on their own. We had 10, I believe, on the yellow one. That's right. So this will be 11 and then an increase, 11 then in an increase, and that's what we're going to do all the way around. And I will catch up with you once I get back to the start again. Okay, so my final colour is the outside edge of these chainy cotton cakes, and I really love the way they end off with this really light dark colour. It kind of brings it back round. Anyway, I'm going to snip off the pink and move that over there, and we're going to end off with our last round. Now at the end, once you get to the end of this round, I will show you how to invisibly hide your end so that you don't get this that you've got to sew in. So if you want that, stick around for the last stitch. Now this one I'm just going to join anywhere, because just like the other alternate rows, this is one where we're going to go in one stitch in every stitch all the way around. So we're not increasing, we're just going to go in every single one and do one all the way around. So I will join my yarn, get started off, and then I will pause it and come back to you at the end so that we can have a look how to do that invisible kind of end off. Okay, so nice and easy, one stitch in every, easier said than done. No, easy all the way around, just one in each, going over the tails. I'll meet back up with you when we get to this stitch, back to the start. Oh. Okay, so I have now got to the end. I haven't joined, and I'm going to show you how to join with an invisible join. I'm going to make a long tail because I have to sew this in. Now I have a bit of a problem in as much as that my needle has a really big fat eye, and the other two are not kind of good enough to get the yarn in very easily, which isn't good for camera. So what am I doing? You need to pull out this loop, completely pull it out so your stitch is there on the loop. Then we thread the needle. Got carried away with myself then, talking about my big fat eyelet. Okay, so now this is our first stitch. Okay, so what we need to do is, there is the two at the top, and this is this one. It looks a little different because it is the first one. So we're going to go behind it and go through the two loops with our needle. Okay, and now we're going to go behind it like that through just the back loop of this one, and as you can see, it makes it invisible. So now we have to kind of take this down through the stitch so that we can secure it. Okay, so it will go down like that, and the edge looks perfect. And now we can just go through maybe these 2 stitches here. Okay, go back through the loop that we've created, holding on to this bit of it, and pull it tight, and then it becomes a knot. So it is now secure, and we can weave this through our work to hide the tail. But I find that with this stuff, it can be a little hard to get it and the needle through. So you don't want it to show on this side, so you're doing it on the back, but you just want to weave it through your work to bury that tail. And what I do is I go one way and then I turn and go back the other way, and I'm going through, making sure it's not coming through that side. I'm going through a little bit of the pink row at the bottom as well. So I've gone along quite a way. I can carry on a little bit further, but I will go back on myself and snip it off. So what I want to tell you as well is not to forget this one. And you do exactly the same thing. You threadle your needle and you go through this end and then back through the loop and pull it tight to make a knot. And then it's really difficult to get it into that center one. So you might want to take it through these stitches here just to bury the tail, but make sure you go round a lot or go back and back the other way. Don't forget to do it on the reverse side. It's all sort of sticking out around there anyway, but once that's done, you can't see where your join was. It all looks perfect along that edge. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy your coasters. And your placemats. I'm going to make some coasters as well, and at some point I will show you what they look like. Thanks for watching. Okay, so to start this then, we start with a magic loop, and I'm going to leave a lovely long tail because it's a bit difficult to sew it in. Well, cotton doesn't stretch, so you need a nice long tail. I'm going to show you how I do my magic loop. It's ever so easy. We just make a loop, pop in the hook and bring it through and do a chain, and you've done your magic loop. None of that wrapping around fingers malarkey. Okay, so inside this magic loop and working over the tail, we want 15 UK trebles. 15 is an odd number, but we do need 15. And the first one is going to be my stack. So I'm going to go into the loop and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both of them. And in this vertical post, I'm going to just insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both of them. I do this because those 2 loops there become my last stitch, and it's so much easier to sort of get into it. Okay, so now I'm going to make 14 UK treble crochets, which are double crochets in the US. So if I say trebles, you'll know that I mean a US double if you work in US terms. It's important that you kind of know that, because we are going to be doing lots of different stitches and they're all called something different. So that's 4. I'm going to pause the video and I will catch up with you once I've done my 15th stitch. Okay, so I'm just going to count them, make sure I've got the right amount. It's going to tug this a little bit because it's a little baggy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and there's my 15th. So that's cool. We've got our 15. Pop my hook back in. I'm just going to give this a little tug. It doesn't have to be completely closed at this stage, but I'm just going to tug it, and I'm going to go through the 2 loops as I said and close with a slip stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how we're going to make it into a star. We're going to chain 4. We don't want them ultra baggy, but we don't want them tight either. So in the back bumps of our stitch, okay, we are going to make, we're going to not go in the first one, we're going to go in the second one. Into the back bumps, we're going to do a UK double crochet. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to go through the 2 loops. And in the next back bump, we're going to do a UK double treble, which is a double half treble, which is half double. Got very confused then. And so we need to go in the back bumps. It's quite important for this. Okay, so there it is. We're just going to pop. Doesn't like to do it when I'm on camera, but it's because I've got a camera in between us. And go through all three. So that's my half treble. So if I say half treble and you're working in US terms, you'll know it's a half double. Now I'm going to do a UK treble, which of course we all know is a double crochet in the US. So there we are. We've got all our stitches. We're going to skip, and go into the third with a slip stitch. And we're going to chain 4. We're going to turn it and find that back bump. And we're going to go and do the same as before. First one is our UK double. Second is our UK half treble. And in the third one, our UK treble. And we're going to go skip, slip stitch into the third one. So we're making our points, okay? Now I'm going to do another 3. I'll do the next one with you. Chain 4. Turn it, find that back bump in the previous chain. And in the next back bump, once you've done one, they sit up for you. We're going to do the half treble. And in the last one, the treble. And you can see we're coming out of this stitch, skip, and slip stitch into that one. So there's 3. I'm going to pause it then, and I'm going to do 2 more, catch up with you once I've done them, and I'm ready to join it. Okay, so I'm done my last one, and I'm going to skip, and in this one here, I'm just going to do my slip stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to do a chain, pull it low, and I'm going to cut this off and pull it through. Okay, so that is how it looks now. We've got our 5 points and we've got these tails. So now I'm going to pull that tight and I'm going to sew them in. Nice and simple. Well, I say that. It's never nice and simple when I'm trying to do it on camera. I'll do this one. Hopefully I won't struggle too badly. It does like to, hey, how about that? So here we are, we're coming out of there. I'm just going to go back into this last bit here. And once I've almost finished that loop, go back through, pull it, that makes a little knot. And now I'm going to just bury this tail. You can do this however you normally would. I mean, you probably all, many of you have different ways of doing this, but that's how I do it. And if you pull it, that little knot disappears and it becomes nice and flat. So just going to feed that through. This is why I liked a nice long tail. When we did our magic loop, it is quite tight going through there. Okay, so that's my last bit. I'm going to snip that off, and the reason that I'm doing this is because at the beginning of making this star, this shield, you will get quite a bit of ends, and they can get in the way, especially during the tutorial. So I'm going to pause it then while I bury this. All I'm going to do is feed it through there and go back round there again. Okay, so now it's going to be hard for me to get back into that back loop there, but I need to try. I need to do it. So I'm going to open it up a little bit here. I'll try anyway. For some reason, it does really not like you to get in. Okay, I don't think that was the back loop though. Where am I going to get you? It's there really, isn't it? That bit. Need to open that up a little bit because it is important that you go through the back loops. Otherwise it doesn't look too good. Okay, so there we go. I'm in that back loop. I'm going to show you why I'm going to do this next part. Okay, so when I first made the star, I had all these like artifacts as I looked like sparkling star, looked like little sparks coming off it. Didn't like that at all, wanted it to be clean. So I had various incarnations of that, and I tried it in acrylic as well. This was made with Aran yarn, just to see how it would come up. Again, see, there wasn't so much, but it was definitely cotton that was a little bit worse. So I did a little technique, and it looked a lot better. My star didn't, but it did. So what I'm going to do now is bring in the blue. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way around our star into the back loops only, and what we're going to do is go in the back loop and slip stitch. Okay, in the back loop and slip stitch. Every single one. Some of them look smaller than others. So they're going up there, then don't forget the top bit. Get in. That's it. And then down the other side, back loop. 1, 2, and 3 down the side. And then 1 in our slip stitch. And then all the way up the top. 1, 2, 3, and in the top. It's careful that you don't actually miss any, so it does throw your stitch count off. That one looks a bit baggy, doesn't it? 1, 2, 3, and in the slip stitch. Okay, we're going to do that all the way around, and that will get rid of that. Where have I put you? Where have I put it? There. That will get rid of all this nasty kind of sparking that comes off, all these artifacts that make it look ugly. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go all the way around, and I'll get rid of those tails, and I will catch up with you then. I'm going to pause it, but make sure you do the 1, 2, 3, top 1, 1, 2, 3 in the slip stitch, all in the back loops, and you get this nice ridge that appears all the way around the star. I'll pause it then. I'll catch up with you once I get back to the start. Okay, I'm all the way around, and I'm going to go back in to my slip stitch and do a slip stitch. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is a stack. So I'm going to go back in that same, where are we? Back in that same stitch. I want to make sure I'm only going in the back loop. So there we are. Go back in, pull up a loop. We've got 2 on a hook, pull through both. Go in the next vertical bit and go through 2. But I don't want to stop there. I'm going to go into the next one there. So I'm doing my stack 3 high. Okay, so now we're going to be going smaller with our stitches as we go up the star and larger as we go down. Okay, and when we get to this point, it's different. So you do need to watch out. Okay, so we're going to go in the back loops only of our slip stitches, and we're going to do a UK treble crochet in the first one. We're going to do a half treble crochet in the next. Remember, that is a half double in the US. And in the next one, we're going to do a double crochet, which, remember, in the US is a single. And we're going to do 3 of those. 1 in the top, and 1 in the next one. I'm making this into a circle now. So down here, we're going to get larger. So we're going to do a half treble. Sorry if you heard that was my stomach. We're going to do a treble crochet. And now we're at the bottom. We're going to do something slightly different to this beginning. We're going to yarn over twice. We're going to, remember, we're only working in the back loops. We're going to go in and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop there. Go round twice, go into the next one, pull up our loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We've got 3 left. Yarn over and pull through all 3 of those. Okay, so now we're going to go back up again and do our treble, our half treble, and our double, and another double. Okay, just bear with me, I've got a parcel coming. So we're just doing 2 there. We did 3 this side, but it was slightly different. So we're going to do our half treble, our treble crochet, and now we're going to do our double treble 2 together. So through 2 and stop. In the next one, through 2, through 2, through 3. And we're going to repeat what we've just done. So we're going to do our UK treble crochet, our half treble crochet, and then we're going to do 2 UK double crochets. And now we're going to work all the way down again with a half treble crochet and a treble crochet, and now we're going to double treble 2 together, through 2, through 2, round twice again into the next one, through 2 and through 2, through all 3. And we're just going to repeat that up here, and I will catch up with you once we get back to this point here. Once again, I do apologise for the stomach if you heard that. I'll eat something after this. Okay, so I'm almost back. So the only one that was different was this one here. From there, it was just 2 in the top of your stars and the double treble in the bottom. But this one was the first one, so it was a little different. So just finishing off, my last stitch is my treble crochet. And now I'm going to join to the top of the stack. And I'm going to do a chain, cinch it down and end off this colour. Okay, so that's why I got rid of those ends, because this couple of rounds does make ends. Now you do get a little bit of that kind of sparking, but it is at a minimum, and that's really all that matters to me. Is like, I didn't want, there was so much of it, but sometimes you can't be off it when you get like a baggier stitch than others. But that is the star, and we've now made it into a circle. So we're going to be bringing in our red yarn, and we're going to make the outer part, if I can find it, like the outer part of the shield. Okay, so just going to pause it then while I bring in my red yarn and we can get started. Okay, so this time around I am just going to join in the stitch after this one, and I'm going to bring in my red yarn, and you can join this any way you want. I'm going to work over both tails, and I'm going to do 4 UK double crochets. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, going through both loops. As you can see, I'm going to give this one a little tug and it will make my end disappear in. So you just, next stitch we're going to do an increase. And we're going to do 4, and in the next one an increase. We're going to do that all the way around, and we want to make sure at the end of this we have a total of 42. So we need to make sure we keep count, and if we need to add one or subtract 1, then we do that accordingly. But at the end of this round, we want to have 42 stitches. So that's our repeat then. I'm going to pause the video. I will catch up with you when I get back to the start again. Okay, so I've made it all the way around. That's just the knot where I did my joins. If I give it a tug, it will disappear a little bit. And I'm going to slip stitch into my first stitch and end off. So with mine, I didn't do my last increase, and that is exactly 42 stitches. So I'm going to pause the video for a second. I know it didn't work out the way I first planned because I changed slightly the way I did that star, and that meant that I had a couple of stitches more than it would if I just did 4 and increase, 4 and increase. So my last increase I didn't do, and it all worked out fine. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. So now we're going to bring in the silver again. So I'm just going to pause the video while I do that. And also sometimes when you make a join, it does look like you've got 2 stitches there, but you haven't, you've only got 1, which is a bit nuisance, but never mind. I'm going to bring the silver in then. I'll pause it and I'll come back to you once I've got that. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in my silver, and it doesn't matter if you join it at the same place or not. It doesn't, normally speaking, I only like to work over 1 at a time, but for some reason this is working out better for me to join at the same space. And this time around, I'm going to just do my, get my stitch. This time around, I'm going to do half trebles. So in my first stitch, I'm going to place 2 in there because that's my increase. I always, if I started with a single stitch, I'll do an increase in my first. If I started with an increase in the previous round, then I'll do 1 in there. So what I'm basically saying is I don't want all my increases in the same place because it becomes like a hexagon. Okay, so this time round we're going to do 5 stitches. And then we're going to do an increase in the next one. So at the end of this round, we will have 49 stitches. Okay, so the next is 5 and then an increase. I'm going to drop that. Easier said than done. And my increase. I'm going to do that all the way around. So I shall pause the video then, and I'll get back to you once I get back to the start, and I should end without an increase. And at the end of that, as I said, we should have 49 stitches. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and I'm going to slip stitch into my first stitch, and then we're going to go back to the red again. So here we are. I'm going to try and go in the 2 loops there. Okay, I'm going to do my slip stitch rather to end it. Okay, so that's how it's looking now. So what I'm doing is I'm making my red rows a little thinner than these silver ones. So I'm just going to pause it a second while I bring in my new colour, and I shall come straight back to you. Okay, so I'm going to join once again the red, and I'm going to do another row of UK double crochets, a nice thin row of reds. I'm going to work over the tail, so that is just my cinched down beginning. And we did start with a increase in the last, so I'm not going to increase this round. And of course, where we did 4, 5, you guessed it, we're going to do 6 now. So that's 1 and 2 If I make that one in the front, you don't see it. 3, 4, 5 and 6. Didn't look like it went in the right part. And then an increase in the next one. I'm going to repeat that all the way around, and at the end of this round we're going to have 56 stitches. Okay, so we're doing 6 and then our increase, and as we started on a single, we'll end on an increase. Okay, so I shall pause the video then, and I will catch up with you once I've got all of my UK doubles all the way around. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and there we've got our Captain America shield perfect coaster. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to carry on with this tutorial and make a square as well. So this will be the end of the coaster, but I will be carrying on to do the start of a square. So because I'm carrying on, I'm just going to slip stitch into here. But if I weren't, I would go through 2 loops here. I'm just showing you how to end this off. Well, I would be showing you if my hook wanted to go through back to front. Excuse me. I would then bring the loop through like that. Just bring it through. It's not going to want to, but there you go. And then I would cut my yarn, and with the end feed it through here and sew it in. But obviously I don't want to do that for this particular tutorial, because I'm going to carry on and make a square for a separate video. Okay, so I'm just going to end off, cinch that down. Of course, you can end off that way if you'd rather, if you find the other way a little bit too difficult. Okay, so for the coaster, that's all we do, and that is your Captain America shield without all those nasty artifacts, just a few little bits here and there, but looking good.